Welcome to Chapter 5. In the previous chapters, we've detailed how to take your idea from your brain to CAD to a manufacturer like SendCutSend. In this chapter, we're going to be focused on designing around sheet goods. In Lesson 1, we're going to go over key terms that you need to know about the cutting processes. So let's get into it. In previous lessons, we went on the shop floor in our shop tour and we talked about the different machines that SendCutSend has available to cut different sheet goods. In this one, we're going to be talking about specifically what is going on during that cutting process so that we can better design around it. So let's come over here to the board. There is a ton of key terms that I'm going to be talking about during this one, so we're going to try to get through them really clearly. The first one is that during a fiber laser cutting process, is that we have two main things that are happening. We have a laser that is coming down and creating a molten or like vaporized area on the material, and we have a high pressure gas that is removing that material. It's really that simple. That does require a conductive material, so we're only going to see this on our metals. That high pressure gas that is coming through is our nitrogen or oxygen that we're going to be using. This is also a shielding gas. For more on that, go check out our nitrogen video on our cutting corners. Now, once that comes all the way through, it leaves a gap between the two pieces of material, our part and our scrap. That gap right there is going to be called our kerf. It's the width of our cut. Now, that kerf is not going to be a perpendicular edge because at the very top, as we're eating through that material, we're spending more time on material up top than we are at the bottom. We're also closer to the laser source. So that taper needs to be considered when it comes down to tolerancing. Now, when it comes to our kerf, or that width, like I just said again, is that we have to offset that in order for the part to come out to the right dimension. If we have a part, say our square here with our hole inside of it, is that if we cut right on the line of our internal hole, then what we're going to end up having is an oversized part or oversized hole on the inside, and that's because our kerf offset is not being taken into consideration. Now, what the kerf offset is half of our kerf. We're just essentially offsetting the line that we're cutting, and it allows us to have the correct dimensions to come through. Now, this is good to understand that it exists, but SendCutSend just does this for you. Give them the part dimensions, the parts will come out correctly because they know their machines and they're doing the offset in the background. Now, what we end up having is we're going to jump over here to pierce. To have the material to be molten and go all the way through takes a second, and essentially it's like a crater from an asteroid. There's an area in which when we first contact it that is making a large void, and as it gets through, it cleans itself up. That pierce we do outside of the cut areas or the outside of the part area. So on an outside geometry, the pierce is done outside. Internal geometry, the pierce is done on the inside. Now, once we pierce through though, we need to get back to the cut line that we want, or that kerf offset. So that is what's called a lead in. It's kind of self-explanatory. We're going to lead back into the part and then do our cutting process. These two right here are things that you're not going to necessarily see on the parts that when you order them from SendCutSend, but what you're going to see here is a little tiny tab sometimes or a little mark where that lead in came into the part. So just kind of know where those are coming from. Now, one big thing that you're going to see is a burr. The burrs are going to vary depending on the material type, the machine that's cutting it, as well as the thickness of that material. What essentially is happening here is that as that vapor and molten area is getting blown through by the high pressure gas, some of it will curl around the outside and re-solidify, and that's that little burr. A lot of times you can knock them off or sand it, as well as SendCutSend offers deburring services, so check that out on the checkout for your part. Now, that burr changes depending on the different types of material. So like I said, softer materials are going to end up being more liable to having a larger burr because that material is easier to move through that part. As well as thicker materials, you're having more material being removed and it's further from your gas source. So you can get a little bit more burr because of the lack of efficiency that you have in your cut. Now, one thing that we get a lot of questions about is the heat affected zone. So heat affected zone is that HAZ that I have up there. That's the area on the part that is remaining after that molten material is removed that did have some heat put into it. Now on a fiber laser, they're moving extremely fast. The heat affected zone is almost zero. On some high hardening materials like 1095, you might see a slight little hardening, but for the most part, you're not going to see anything happening there. And so heat affected zone is almost zero compared to, like, say, plasma cutting, where it has a large heat affected zone because it's cutting very slowly and having a lot of heat put into your part. Now, when it comes to different types of cutting methods, they have different variations of this. So we just talked about fiber lasers specifically. We do have a Waterjet. Now the Waterjet works in a very similar fashion, except for it doesn't create heat because it's using high pressure and an abrasive, high pressure water and an abrasive to remove that material. It's essentially doing an erosion process in the background that removes that. We still have a kerf, and often it's actually larger than our fiber laser because of the media that is being pushed through. And so we have to consider a kerf offset. Piercing and lead-ins are also going to be critical to make sure that we don't end up having that pierce be part of our cut lines. Now this one doesn't have a shielding gas because of the high pressure and the abrasive coming through, and so we don't really take in consideration any of that, but we're not going to see a large burr because of the lack of heating and cooling effects that we have. If there is a burr on, say, a Waterjet or even our CNC routers, most of the time it's because the last little bit of material wasn't cut and it just simply rolls over the edge. Now, I just mentioned CNC machines as well. So our CNC routers cut things a little bit differently. They use end mills that are rotating, and they're going to be taking chunks of that material out with each one of the flutes. This essentially ends up having a kerf and a kerf offset as well. That kerf, the diameter of our end mill is going to be that kerf, and our kerf offset is going to be the radius. So if we have a 1/2 inch end mill, we need to offset our line by 1/4 inch in order to have the correct dimensions come out on our part. Sort of redundant, but what ends up happening is that we need to understand that every single time we cut something on a CNC, if we have smaller geometry on the inside, it changes our kerf offset as well. The pierce can be done in a lot of different ways on a CNC. It can actually ramp down in on the cut path, or it can actually plunge or do a helical pattern outside. And so we'll still see that lead in, lead out as well, except for it's typically not as noticeable. One big thing that we have that's different on the CNC than the Waterjets and the fiber laser is that the CNC is going to have a perpendicular path because that end mill is going to be cutting perpendicular, whereas that Waterjet is going to end up having that erosion type effect, and the fiber laser as well, where we're going to end up seeing a little bit of an angle. This is something that we're going to want to talk about a little bit more detail in further lessons on tolerancing. So the thicker the materials, we're going to see more of that effect coming through. Now that we understand kind of what's happening on those 3 main machine types, in the next lesson, we're going to start going over how those affect your designs when it comes to internal geometry and geometry to geometry. So we'll see you on the next one.